On the edge of the Cavorian cluster, a small planet called Lyrthia spun lazily around its twin suns. Its forests glowed faintly under the violet light. Rivers shimmered with silvery currents, and mountains rose like jagged teeth against the horizon. Lyrthia was beautiful, but it was fragile. Its people, the Takare, were delicate beings, their thin limbs and soft bodies ill-suited to the dangers of the wider galaxy. They lived in harmony with their planet, tending gardens that glowed at night and building cities of crystal and light. But peace was fleeting in a galaxy filled with greed. For months, the Takare had suffered. Raiders from the neighboring systems had attacked without warning, taking what they wanted and leaving devastation behind. The Takare had no army to defend themselves. Their weapons were weak, their shields fragile, and their technology advanced only in thought and communication, not in battle. In the capital city of Ilmera, the Takare Council gathered in a great hall made entirely of transparent crystal. Light from the twin suns refracted across the walls, painting patterns like fire on the floor. At the center of the council sat Vera, a young but respected leader. Her skin shimmered silver under the sunlight, and her eyes, deep blue, reflected worry. "The raids are growing bolder," she said. "We can no longer hide. We cannot repair our homes fast enough. And if the next attack comes during the night cycle, we may lose everything." A murmur of agreement ran through the chamber. Their usual calm and graceful movements were tense, almost jittery, as if the stress of constant danger had seeped into their very bones. "We need help," said Myron, the eldest council member. His voice was soft but carried weight. "We must send a call to the stars. There must be a civilization that will answer our distress. Surely someone will come before it is too late." The Takare had long relied on diplomacy, trade, and knowledge. But none of that could protect them from pirates armed with plasma cannons and graviton disruptors. Sending a distress signal was the only choice left. Vera nodded solemnly. "Prepare the beacon. Send it across all frequencies. Someone must hear us. Someone must come." High atop the tallest spire of Ilmera, a team of Takare engineers worked quickly. The beacon was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. It was designed to amplify both thought and sound, a psychic communication hybrid that could reach species across light years. Energy coiled around the spire like liquid lightning, and the EI-der beacon hummed with an eerie power. "Is it ready?" Vera asked as she watched from below. The chief engineer, Lyrian, nodded. "It will send the signal to the far reaches of the cluster, but we cannot be certain anyone will respond. This call, it is desperate." Vera's eyes narrowed, determination hardening her features. "We have no other choice. Send it now." The beacon ignited. A brilliant pulse of light shot into space, carrying the Takare's plea across the stars. The signal spread, hopping from one distant relay to another, moving faster than any starship. It carried a single message. "We are Lyrthia. We are peaceful. We need help. We are in danger." As the pulse traveled, the Takare waited anxiously. Nights passed and days turned. The council met daily to discuss possible responses, but none came. The cities went on with quiet activity, children playing near luminous gardens, artisans crafting fragile glass sculptures, but every shadow seemed heavier, every whisper more anxious. Vera walked along the edge of a cliff one evening, staring at the twin suns sinking below the horizon. The wind whispered through her silver hair. "Will anyone come?" she asked aloud, though there was no one to answer. A soft voice echoed behind her. "Perhaps," said Myron, joining her. "But the galaxy is vast. Perhaps help is too far away. Or perhaps help is something the stars themselves will deliver, not the beings we expect." Vera frowned. "I do not understand." Myron smiled faintly. "We think in terms of our neighbors, our allies. But there are beings beyond our imagination. Some live on worlds that are harsh. Worlds that break most creatures but make the survivors stronger. If they hear our call, they will come, not with gentle hands, but with power enough to protect us." Vera shivered. The thought was both terrifying and comforting. She imagined colossal ships, strange beings, and weapons the likes of which her delicate world had never seen. And yet, hope stirred. Perhaps these unknown protectors existed. Perhaps they would arrive before it was too late. Then, one evening, the beacon faltered. The pulse that had carried their message for light years dimmed. Lyrian and her team scrambled to repair it, working feverishly. Sparks flew, energy arcs danced dangerously across the spire. "We cannot hold it," Lyrian shouted. "The energy is unstable. If it collapses, the signal will be lost entirely." Vera ran to the spire, her hand resting on the cool crystal. "Do not give up. We cannot fail now. We cannot." But the beacon flickered and died. Silence settled over Ilmera like a heavy fog. The council gathered immediately, panic barely restrained. "The signal, it is gone," said one of the engineers, his voice trembling. "No one will hear us now. We are alone." Vera clenched her fists. She could feel the fear radiating from her people, their fragile hope breaking. Yet, somewhere, deep inside, a small ember of trust remained. She remembered Myron's words about the survivors of harsh worlds. If they exist, they may already be on their way. That night, as the twin moons rose over Lyrthea, the city slept uneasily. Families huddled together, children whispered prayers for safety, and sentries patrolled the perimeter of the crystal walls, their delicate limbs moving stiffly with tension. And far beyond the planet, in the silent darkness of space, something stirred. Ships, massive and silent, glided through the void. Their hulls were black and angular, bristling with unseen power. No signal had called them. They did not need one. The pulse that had traveled across the stars had reached coordinates far away, and those who thrived on Deathworlds had noticed. For them, the beacon was more than a plea, it was a challenge. And challenges, as they had learned over centuries of surviving impossible worlds, were not ignored. Back on Lyrthea, Vera gazed at the horizon, unaware that her world's fate was already shifting. She could not see the stars darken as enormous shapes moved through space. She could not see the Armada forming silently, waiting for the moment to arrive. But somewhere, deep in the void, the Deathworlders had already set their course. The twin suns of Lyrthea had barely begun to rise when a faint shimmer appeared on the horizon, barely visible at first. The Takare were slow to notice, their eyes accustomed to the violet light of their world. But then the shimmer grew into something solid, something enormous that blocked the morning sun and cast a strange shadow across the mountains. From the sky, it was not just one ship, not two. Hundreds of ships moved in tight formation, silent but massive, like a swarm of predators moving with perfect coordination. The air shimmered with energy as the fleet descended, sending ripples through Lyrthea's upper atmosphere. In Ilmera, alarms rang across the city. The Takare could not comprehend what they saw. The ships were enormous, far larger than any vessel they had seen in the galaxy. Their hulls were black, angular, bristling with technology that seemed alive. Vera rushed to the observation deck of the council tower. Her silver eyes widened in disbelief. What are they?" she whispered. Lyrian's jaw dropped. I do not know. Nothing in our records resembles these ships. They are terrifying." The fleet moved with precision, dropping into orbit over Lyrthea. The largest ship, a black and gray monolith, hovered over the capital city itself. From it, beams of light scanned the planet, searching, analyzing, assessing. The Takare panicked. They expected aid, yes, but aid usually arrived in small, careful packages. Medics, engineers, perhaps some trade vessels. Not a fleet that could crush an entire city in moments if it wished. From the main ship, a communication beam projected across the city. The Takare watched as a figure appeared in shimmering light. He was human, or at least, he looked human. Broad-shouldered, tall, and wearing armor that gleamed in the morning sun. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with quiet intensity. "I am Commander Rin Varric of the United Earth Defense Forces," he said. His voice was strong and direct, echoing in the streets and buildings. "We detected a distress signal from your planet. You are in danger. We are here to protect you." Vera stepped forward, her voice trembling. We sent a call for help, but we did not expect this. We are a peaceful people. We do not need war." Rin's gaze softened slightly, though his stance remained imposing. Peaceful worlds do not last long when pirates and raiders hunt without mercy. We do not come for war, but we do not come unarmed. If anyone threatens your people, they will face consequences they cannot imagine. The Takari whispered among themselves, awed and fearful. These humans were unlike any beings they had ever encountered. They moved with confidence, their ships silent but powerful, like the shadows of mountains gliding across the sky. Then the panic of expectation became real. From the far side of the planet, a fleet of pirate ships entered the system. Small, but heavily armed, they had traveled quickly, confident that Lyrthia was an easy target. Their weapons glinted and they transmitted loud, mocking signals. "They think we are defenseless," said one pirate captain over the comms, laughter in his voice. "They have no idea." Vera's stomach sank. The Takari had only watched these raiders from a distance, unable to defend themselves. But now, with the humans in orbit, hope flickered again. Rin did not wait. "Deploy defensive drones and position the surface shields." His commands were precise, executed immediately. The black ships above the planet opened compartments and mechanical drones spilled into orbit and the upper atmosphere. They moved with perfect coordination, scanning for threats, locking onto the pirate fleet. The pirates fired first. Plasma beams shot toward the planet, striking forests and rivers, but the human drones intercepted almost all of them. Energy shields flared as the projectiles dissolved harmlessly. The Takari watched from the crystal towers of Ilmera, mouths open. They had never seen battle like this. The humans did not panic. They did not hesitate. Every movement was precise, every action calculated. "Are they going to kill them all?" whispered Lyrian. Her voice was full of awe and fear. "They will stop the threat," Vera said slowly, realizing the truth. "But they are not gentle. They will act decisively." The battle unfolded above them. Human ships darted with impossible speed, small craft weaving through pirate fire while larger ships unleashed devastating weaponry. Entire pirate vessels disintegrated in moments, torn apart by energy beams and guided projectiles. The sky above, the capital glowed with bursts of light, reflecting in the rivers and mountains below. Yet the humans did not harm the planet. Not a forest burned, not a city tower collapsed. The Takari could see the difference. These beings were not careless. They were lethal, but careful. They protected what needed protection and destroyed only the threat. Vera turned to Myron, who stood beside her. How can they be so strong?" she asked. "How can they move with such precision?" Myron's eyes were wide. "They are from worlds far harsher than ours. Worlds where only the strongest, the smartest, and the most adaptable survive. They are what we could never imagine becoming. They are Deathworlders." As the last pirate ship fell in a blinding explosion, silence returned to the skies. Smoke and debris floated through orbit, but the humans' fleet remained intact, hovering silently like guardians. Rin transmitted again, his voice calm but commanding. "Pirates neutralized. Your planet is safe. For now. We will remain in orbit until we are certain no further threat exists. Do not mistake our protection for weakness. Any who attack will face the same fate." The Takari were speechless. They had asked for aid, yes. But this was beyond anything they could have imagined. Not only had the humans arrived, they had arrived with overwhelming force, intelligence, and discipline. Vera finally spoke, her voice shaking but firm. "You saved us. I cannot..." Thank you enough. We expected medics, supplies, perhaps guidance. But you brought an armada. Rin's image flickered slightly. Peaceful worlds often require more than hope to survive. We act because it is necessary. You are alive now because we chose to be here. Remember that. As the humans maintained their positions in orbit, the Takare began to comprehend the reality of their situation. Their world was fragile, but they had glimpsed what humans, creatures of impossible resilience, could achieve. They were strong, adaptable, and utterly fearless. They thrived where others would perish. Vera looked out at the black ships and realized something profound. This was not mere technology. The humans themselves were the weapon. Their minds, their instincts, their ability to act decisively under pressure. These were tools no alien race had yet mastered. For the first time, the Takare felt something they had never felt before. Awe mixed with deep respect, tinged with fear. The Deathworlders were unlike any allies they had imagined. They were not just helpers. They were protectors, warriors, and enigmas wrapped into one. And far beyond the planet, the rest of the human fleet waited silently. They had no interest in conquest. They had no desire for plunder. They acted for a reason simple yet terrifying: survival and protection. For the humans, nothing else mattered. On the surface, the Takare began to celebrate cautiously, hugging loved ones and thanking the humans through projected messages. But their joy was tempered with understanding. The galaxy was dangerous, and they had just met the beings who could turn danger into safety and chaos into order, with a speed and efficiency no one had ever imagined. Vera turned back to the observation deck, watching the fleet above. If this is what it means to have allies, I do not know if we are ready for the rest of the galaxy, she whispered. Myron placed a hand on her shoulder. Perhaps the galaxy will teach us as we watch them, but for now, we live. And that is enough. The first light of Lirithia's twin suns barely touched the mountain peaks when the pirate fleet returned. This time they were larger, bolder, and hungrier for plunder. The Takare, fragile and gentle, cowered in their cities, hoping the humans, these strange Deathworlders, would intervene. From orbit, the human fleet waited silently. Commander Rin Varric's black ship cut a sharp line against the violet sky. His voice rang through the comm system. Pirates approaching. Prepare surface defenses, maintain calm. The Takare, though relieved, could hardly understand the humans' calm. Their hearts pounded in fear. They are so composed, whispered Lyrian. They do not panic, not like us. Rin studied the pirate formations through the fleet's advanced sensors. The pirates were confident, underestimating the humans completely. They thought Lyrithia was defenseless. They had no idea what awaited them. Lock all weapons on enemy. Vectors, Rin commanded. Drones deploy in grid pattern, perimeter sweep active. No ship passes through undetected. Moments later, mechanical drones exploded from compartments in the human ships, sleek and deadly. They moved in perfect harmony, weaving between each other like living creatures, forming an invisible net around the planet. The first pirate ship fired, its plasma cannons aiming straight for the largest city, Ilmera. The Takare gasped as energy beams streaked toward the crystal towers. But before they could strike, a human drone intercepted, exploding into the path of the attack. The blast redirected the plasma harmlessly into the atmosphere. Vera's jaw dropped. They are protecting us. Every single shot. Rin's voice came over the comm again, firm and unwavering. Pirates are aggressive. Use planetary shields. Engage evasive maneuvers. Target their engines first. Disable, not destroy. The humans did not hesitate. Ships darted through space with impossible speed, avoiding pirate fire with movements that defied physics as far as the Takare could tell. Smaller vessels fired guided projectiles that tore through pirate hulls, but carefully avoided civilian areas. On the surface, the Takare watched, mesmerized. Children hid behind walls, peering out at the spectacle. Why are they so Unstoppable, one whispered. Myron shook his head. They are from worlds that would kill ordinary creatures instantly. Cold, harsh planets where only the strongest survive. They learn to thrive in danger. That is why they are like this, predictable in thought, unstoppable in action. Above, the battle grew more intense. The pirates tried to flank the planet, but the humans anticipated every move. Drones intercepted escape vectors, targeted strikes, disabled engines. Entire pirate ships exploded mid-flight, leaving debris that harmlessly fell into the empty upper atmosphere. Despite the overwhelming power, the humans remained careful. Not a city burned, not a forest scorched. It was almost as if the humans had a shield over the world itself, protecting it from the chaos surrounding it. Vera and Lyrian watched a pirate frigate desperately trying to break through the formation. Its plasma bolts streaked toward Ilmera, a human fighter ship launched from orbit, intercepting the frigate in a flash of light. Within seconds, the frigate was gone. "They are perfect," Vera said softly. Her hands trembled as she held the crystal rail of the observation deck. Every move, planned, every strike, precise. Myron placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yes, and yet they are not machines. They think, they anticipate, they adapt. That is what makes them Deathworlders." The pirates regrouped, desperate and furious. They realized Lyrthea was not defenseless. Their communications became frantic, filled with anger and disbelief. "How can this be? How can humans be so efficient?" One captain shouted over the comms. The humans did not respond with words. They responded with action. A massive black cruiser moved into position above the largest pirate ships. It unleashed a wave of energy that disabled systems across the enemy fleet. Engines faltered, shields collapsed, and weapons went offline. "Target remaining ships," Rin commanded. "Disable and neutralize, no one escapes." The Takari held their breath as the remaining pirate vessels struggled. Each one was intercepted, with precision. Human ships danced around them, disabling rather than destroying wherever possible. Pirates were thrown into disarray, trapped like insects in a web they could not escape. On the ground, some Takari ventured outside, witnessing the humans' incredible tactics. They moved with a rhythm, a coordination that seemed almost supernatural. The humans were everywhere at once, above, around, and between the pirates, predicting moves before the enemy even thought of them. Vera turned to Myron. I think I understand now. They are not just warriors. They are something else. Something evolved." Myron nodded. "Survivors of worlds that break ordinary beings. They do not just survive. They dominate danger. That is why they are here, why they will protect us. Because they understand survival better than any of us ever could." The pirates, desperate and panicked, tried one last maneuver, a direct strike at the human fleet. But it was too late. The humans anticipated the attack. In seconds, the pirate formation was shattered. Hulls ruptured, weapons destroyed, engines failed. The remaining pirate ships fled, their numbers decimated, disappearing into the void. Vera exhaled deeply, relief washing over her. Tears ran down her silver cheeks as she realized her people were alive because of these humans. Rin's voice came again. "Threat neutralized. Lyrthea is safe, for now. We will remain in orbit to ensure no further attacks occur. Consider this a warning. Any who threaten your world will face the same fate. Understand this and live in peace." The Takare could barely find words. They had not only survived, they had witnessed something extraordinary. Humans, these Deathworlders, were not just fighters. They were protectors of a kind the Takari could never have imagined. Vera turned back to the observation deck, staring at the human ships. I do not think I will ever see another being like them," she whispered. "Not in this galaxy." Myron nodded. "And yet, we have learned. They are not invincible, but they are extraordinary. And that is why they will shape the future of this galaxy, whether we like it or not." As the Takare celebrated cautiously, hugging their loved ones and repairing the damage from the minor attacks, the humans remained vigilant. They did not. Celebrate did not relax. Their fleet stayed in formation, scanning the void for further threats. For them, duty was absolute. For them, survival was a law. On Lyrthea, a new understanding took root. The Takare had always known the galaxy was dangerous, but now they understood the meaning of true power. It was not raw strength alone. It was intelligence, adaptability, precision, and the will to act when necessary. The humans possessed all of these qualities, and far above, the Deathworlders watched, prepared, and silent. They had come for a simple reason: to protect. But in their wake, they left awe, fear, and respect. The Takare would never forget the sight of humans in action. Their world had survived because of beings who had thrived where no other could. The galaxy was vast, and danger would return. But for the first time, the Takare felt hope. Because now they knew that if humans, the Deathworlders, were anywhere near, survival was not just possible, it was guaranteed. The battle above Lyrthea was over, but the air on the planet remained heavy with awe and tension. The Takare emerged cautiously from their crystal cities, eyes wide at the still hovering human ships in orbit. Their world was safe, yet the presence of these humans, these Deathworlders, felt overwhelming, almost incomprehensible. Vera stood atop the tallest tower of Ilmera, gazing at the fleet. "They saved us," she whispered. "They did not even ask if we could repay them. They simply acted." Myron beside her nodded slowly. "And yet they did not destroy. That is what surprises me. They could have obliterated the pirates with ease, but they protected us as well. There is a philosophy to their strength." Below, human technicians had begun scanning the planet's surface, ensuring that no lingering dangers remained. They moved with precision, making adjustments to the planetary shields, reinforcing weak points and communicating with each other in a language of efficiency and brevity that seemed almost alien to the Takare. Commander Rin Varric addressed Vera and the Council via a holographic projection. "We will remain in orbit for a time to ensure no further threats emerge. During this period, we will train your people in basic defensive measures, not to make warriors of you, but to give your species a chance to survive on your own." Vera's jaw dropped. "Train us? We are not fighters. We are peaceful. We cannot fight like you." Rin's expression remained calm. "No one becomes what we are overnight, but survival is a choice, and knowledge is the first step toward making that choice. Watch, learn, and adapt. That is all we ask," the Takare whispered among themselves. Training? They had not imagined anything like this. They were fragile beings, creatures of thought and beauty, not combat. Yet the humans seemed to regard their fragility not as weakness but as a challenge, one to be overcome through teaching, guidance, and demonstration. That evening, Vera and Myron were invited aboard one of the smaller human ships. The interior was stark but efficient, walls lined with instruments, screens, and glowing panels that pulsed with activity. Humans moved calmly, performing tasks with methodical precision. A human officer approached, tall and broad-shouldered, and extended a hand. "I am Lieutenant Kara Voss. We will be conducting your orientation. Observe first. Ask questions later. Survival requires focus." Vera hesitated, then took the offered hand. The touch was firm, grounding. It carried a confidence that was almost palpable. She realized that every human she had seen, every action above, and every word spoken was measured and intentional. These were not just warriors. They were survivors refined by generations of extreme conditions. Kara led them to a simulation room. Holographic images of Lyrthea flickered around them, overlaying possible threats, tactical movements, and evacuation strategies. "Watch carefully," Kara instructed. "This is what a small threat looks like. These are the patterns we use to neutralize danger while protecting civilians. You will notice speed, positioning, and decision-making. The key is anticipation, not reaction." The Takare leaned forward, absorbing every detail. Their minds, capable of high thought and creativity, struggled to keep pace with the humans' efficiency. Yet something ignited in them, a curiosity, a spark of hope. Perhaps they could learn. Perhaps they could survive better than they ever had before. After hours of observation, the humans allowed questions. Vera's voice trembled slightly. You come from worlds far harsher than ours, yes? Worlds where survival is brutal. Kara nodded. Yes, death worlds, worlds that break most species. Extreme gravity, extreme heat, hostile ecosystems, predators that kill without thought. Those who survive are not lucky. They are strong, adaptive, and resilient. That is how we became what you see now. Myron leaned forward, astonished. And you came here to protect us? To save a species so delicate? Kara smiled faintly. Yes. Survival is not just about the individual. Sometimes protecting others is part of it. But do not mistake our protection for weakness. We act because it is necessary, and we survive because we can. Vera absorbed every word. These humans, fragile in their beginnings, had adapted to worlds that would have destroyed the Takare in moments. They had transformed danger into strength, fear into precision, and death into mastery. Over the next few days, the humans began training the Takare, not with weapons initially, but with strategy, observation, and adaptability exercises. They taught the Takare to read threats, anticipate behavior, and make decisions under pressure. At first, the Takare struggled. Their gentle bodies could not move quickly. Their reflexes were slower than the humans. But the Deathworlders adapted their training to the Takare's strengths: mental agility, group coordination, and resourcefulness. Slowly, the Takare began to understand. Survival was not just brute force. It was awareness, anticipation, and decisive action. The humans demonstrated how to use their environment, how to coordinate without panic, and how to turn fragility into advantage. One evening, as the twin moons rose over Lyrthea, Vera and Kara stood on a balcony of the human ship overlooking the crystal city below. I do not know if we will ever be like you, Vera said softly, but I think we can learn something important. Kara nodded. You already have. Strength is not just physical. It is mental, emotional, and adaptive. Survival requires all three. You will survive if you understand that. Below, the Takare began practicing. Not with real weapons, but with simulations of strategy and defense. They coordinated movements, predicted actions, and learned to communicate in ways they had never imagined. The humans guided, corrected, and encouraged, but never forced. It was a revelation. For the first time, the Takare saw themselves not just as delicate creatures of thought, but as beings capable of growth, learning, and resilience. As the days passed, the humans continued their work in orbit and on the planet's surface. They repaired minor damage from the pirate attacks, reinforced infrastructure, and left defensive drones to monitor key points. But their presence was more than mechanical. It was a living example of endurance, adaptability, and courage. The Takare began to whisper among themselves. They are extraordinary, said one artisan, watching a human adjust the planetary shields. Not gods, not monsters, just something beyond our imagination. They are Deathworlders, Myron said. And now, we understand a little of what that means. We are fortunate to have seen it, to have learned from it. Perhaps, one day we can stand a little taller in the galaxy because of them. Vera's eyes sparkled with a mixture of awe and determination. We will survive. We will adapt. And perhaps, one day our people will be ready to face the galaxy without fear. Kara approached her quietly. Remember, we act for necessity. Not glory, not vengeance, only survival. Learn this and you will be prepared for anything. The Takare nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Humans did not seek fame or honor. They sought survival, protection, and mastery of themselves and their environment. That philosophy, simple yet profound, was something the Takare had never encountered. And as the twin suns set over Lyrthia, the Takare began to truly see the humans not as strangers, but as teachers, protectors, and exemplars of what it meant to endure and thrive in a dangerous galaxy. The bond between the two species had begun, not through diplomacy, trade, or words, but through action, survival, and understanding. The Deathworlders had come when the hour signal went out, not for reward, not for acknowledgement, but because they recognized necessity and acted decisively. For the Takare, this was a revelation. They had been saved, they had been taught, and most importantly, they had been shown a path toward resilience, something their species had never known. And in the silent, starry skies above, the human armada waited, silent, vigilant, ready for whatever the galaxy would throw next. Because survival was not a question for humans, it was a certainty, and those who learned from them could share in that certainty. The twin suns of Lyrthia rose slowly over the crystal cities, casting long shadows across streets that had once been filled with fear and now glimmered with hope. The Takare moved with a new sense of purpose. Even their fragile limbs carried an air of confidence that had not existed before. Commander Rin Varric's flagship hovered in orbit, massive and silent. Below, humans continued to train and guide the Takare, ensuring that the lessons of the past weeks were understood and absorbed. Vera walked through the city square observing her people. Children practiced coordination drills, moving in patterns taught by the humans. Artisans tested new defensive techniques for their delicate architecture. Sentinels patrolled with a confidence born not of fear, but of preparation. Myron approached. Our people, they are changing. I have never seen them so focused, so aware of what they must do to survive. Vera nodded. Yes, but it is not just the training. It is them, the humans, seeing what they can do, understanding their philosophy. It has opened our eyes. Far above, the human fleet remained vigilant. Every ship was a monument to survival and adaptability, a silent reminder that true strength was not just in numbers or weapons, but in knowledge, discipline, and the will to act decisively. Rin Varric's voice came over the planetary comms. We will remain in orbit for a few more cycles to ensure no further threats arrive. During this time, continue your exercises. Learn, adapt, and prepare, Vera transmitted back. Your guidance has been invaluable. We are grateful beyond words. Rin's voice was calm, measured. We do not act for gratitude. We act because it is necessary. You will survive because we chose to be here. But remember, survival requires action, not expectation. The Takare nodded silently. They were beginning to understand the humans did not save them for praise, recognition, or thanks. They acted because they had to, and because that was what survivors do. Over the next few cycles, the Takare began to incorporate the humans' teachings into every aspect of life. Their cities became more resilient, their communications faster and clearer, and their defenses more coordinated. They learned to anticipate danger, to act decisively, and to value preparation over hope alone. Vera and Myron watched as a group of children practiced tactical coordination exercises. One child stumbled, almost falling, but a teammate caught her before disaster struck. Vera smiled. They are learning quickly, faster than I imagined. Myron nodded. The human example is powerful. They are not just teaching, they are inspiring. Our people now believe that survival is possible even in a galaxy full of danger. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Rin Varric and Karavos invited Vera and the council to the flagship for a final briefing. The interior of the ship was quiet but humming with energy. Humans moved with calm purpose, their eyes scanning instruments, communicating in brief, precise bursts. Rin began, his tone measured. We have ensured your planet is secure. The pirates will not return, at least not soon. You have learned the basics of defense, coordination, and anticipation. But there is more to survival than these skills. You must remain vigilant. You must continue to learn from experience and from each other. Vera spoke, her voice steady. We understand, Commander, your lessons, your presence has changed us. We are not the same fragile people who sent the distress call weeks ago. Kara stepped forward. That is the point. You do not need to become us. You need to become the best version of yourselves. Adapt, endure, and act decisively when necessary. That is the essence of what we call survival. Myron added, and if we do this, if we continue to adapt, we will not only survive, but we will thrive. Rin nodded. Exactly. Remember, the galaxy is vast, and threats will return. But now, you have a chance to face them, not as fragile beings, but as a species capable of growth, resilience, and adaptation. And you will not be alone. Wherever necessary, we may return to assist, but you must always act first with knowledge and courage. The Takare Council bowed, humbled by the wisdom and clarity of the Deathworlders. For the first time in their history, they felt part of a larger universe, not as victims, but as beings capable of learning and surviving within it. As the humans prepared to depart, the Takare gathered along the crystal terraces of Ilmera. The fleet lifted off silently, engines humming, shields glowing faintly under the twin suns. The massive black ships glided into space, leaving behind not fear, but awe and gratitude. Children waved from the streets. Adults bowed and projected messages of thanks. Vera stood with Myron, watching as the humans disappeared into the stars. She whispered softly, "They will return if we need them. But even if they do not, we are no longer helpless." Myron smiled. "We are Deathworlders, in spirit now, not in body, but in resolve. The galaxy may be dangerous, but we have learned from the best how to endure it." In the following cycles, Lyrthea began to flourish. The cities became more resilient, using lessons learned from the humans to reinforce their crystal structures. Agricultural systems were improved to survive extreme conditions, inspired by the adaptability of the Deathworlders. Communication networks were optimized for speed and clarity, ensuring that every citizen could coordinate in times of need. But it was more than physical preparation. The Takare learned mental resilience. They learned to anticipate, to plan, and to act with decisiveness. They learned that fear was not a weakness, but a signal to act. They learned that survival was not about hope alone, but about preparation, knowledge, and courage. Vera walked through the city one evening, observing her people. A group of young Takare were running a drill, coordinating movement and communication. Adults were mentoring them, passing on the lessons learned from the humans. She realized that her people had grown in ways she could not have imagined. "They are becoming strong," she whispered to Myron. "Yes," he replied, "stronger than they have ever been, and perhaps, one day, strong enough to face the galaxy with confidence, not fear." High above, in the silent depths of space, the human fleet moved between star systems. They did not linger unnecessarily. Their mission was not conquest or fame. It was observation, protection, and the readiness to act wherever survival demanded it. The Takare, watching from below, knew they had been part of something extraordinary. They had encountered beings who thrived in impossible conditions, who could survive worlds that would have destroyed them instantly, and who acted not for glory, but because necessity demanded it. And now, the Takare were changed. They had learned from the Deathworlders. They had seen what it meant to endure, to adapt, and to act decisively. They had seen the true meaning of survival. In the following years, Lyrthea prospered. The Takare became more confident, more resilient, and more aware of the galaxy around them. They knew danger would return, as it always did. But they also knew that they were no longer helpless. They had learned from the Deathworlders how to survive, how to thrive, and how to face the galaxy with courage. And whenever the twin suns set over the crystal cities, Vera would look to the stars, imagining the humans who had come when the signal went out, who had saved them not for reward or praise, but because survival demanded action. She understood now what Myron had once said. The galaxy is full of dangers, but where Deathworlders go, survival follows. And those who learn from them can share in that survival. Learthia was no longer just a fragile world. It was a world reborn. Its people were no longer just delicate dreamers. They were learners, thinkers and survivors. And in that transformation lay a promise that the Takare, under the guidance of their invisible allies among the stars, could endure anything the galaxy might throw at them. The Deathworlders had come. They had acted when the signal went out. And in doing so, they had left behind not just protection but a legacy, a lesson that would endure far longer than their presence.